We could preference the world title fight at 118 if you want, but we could also talk about another busy week in boxing. So whatever you feel, ask away. Just like the video. Let me know where you're coming from. And if you haven't already, about an hour ago, I uploaded my analysis, prediction, and breakdown of that world title fight in Japan between yeah, it's already up there. So between Takei and Tongdee. So that's a fun fight. I've been having a lot of fun lately, researching and revisiting some of these Japanese fighters, and they just seem to be just churning them out. These lightweight fighters with Takei. He comes from a K1 background. You know, he's a former multiple K1 Grand Prix world champion. A lot of people don't know this. If you watch my breakdown, I get into this. I talk about Takei's career, and that's what I really enjoy doing. He was ranked in the top 10 global pound-for-pound rankings in kickboxing before he turned pro. And then with Tongdee, the Thai fighter, nobody's talking about this. This guy's amateur pedigree. Neither guy has a lot of pro fights. One's 10-0, one's 15-0. But Tongdee has a win over Robesi Ramirez in the amateurs. So you know the guy has a boxing pedigree. The guy could box. What's up, GOAT? Appreciate everybody here. Like always, like this video. Keep the chat going. Let's see if we can simmer this up. I know it's a holiday back in America. So wherever you are, if you're in America, you know, I pay respects to Memorial Day. You know, we have to remember where we come from. Like one of my favorite quotes about fighting, two things that humans will always do. Two things that men have always done and will always do until the end of time. Fighting and effing, lack of better terms. But yeah, so I know we all have somebody in our lives, in our family, very close to us who served in the military, so we should pay our respects to them. But like I said, if you're taking time out of your day to tune in here, ask away, ask the questions. We have some big fights going on in Yokohama tomorrow night. It's my night, Wednesday, 7 p.m. I think it's Wednesday afternoon in Japan, which should be Tuesday evening in America whenever you guys are tuning in. I think DAZN is playing this. And there's some good fights on the card. I am rolling with a parlay, so I'm very comfortable. I already talked about it. When I put my what I'm banking on is I'm going heavy on 2 fights on this Yokohama card. And then I'm taking the winnings from that, and then I'm gonna go heavy on the rest of the parlays with the fights going on this week in America and Mexico. There's a lot of big fights. MJ's fighting on Friday. You got Bektemir fighting DFG. You got the rematch Galagos and Co, which is some interesting odds. I heard a lot of people on some of the YouTube channels, just because Co got stopped. What's up, Fresh BX? I appreciate you guys. You know, Galagos is the underdog. So statistically speaking, statistically speaking, a lot of people are confused on that. I'm not that shocked that he's the underdog. I think a lot of these matchups at the highest level depend a lot on in-fight adjustments. And if you watch that first fight, I think Co just ran out of gas. He didn't really win a lot of rounds, but I don't want to say it was preparation. These are big boys. From a skill perspective, if you look at what each boxer does really well, from a skill perspective, that's why I think the odds makers are leaning with Co. But I'm not telling you, I'm not saying I am. I'm not giving you my prediction. I'm going to do film study on that fight. I'm doing film study on the MJ fight, Bektemir versus DFG, obviously the Charlo Cornflake fight, obviously the Caleb Plant Resendez fight. What's up, Good morning, Kamei? Good morning. Appreciate you. It is 8:30 here, Tuesday morning. And like I said, we've been on a roll with the boxing. All you guys who are here for the predictions, or you want any feedback, or just get the chat going about who I'm leaning with or who you're leaning with. The Rikishi fight's interesting. Sugar Nunez. I uploaded that video. I gave you my analysis and prediction. By now, you guys should know I'm taking Sugar Nunez. Not to say that that's not going to be a dog fight. And it's in Japan. Rikishi's a dog. He's a good fighter. And Nunez, just look at their stats. Both guys have power. Both guys want to end the fight. It's going to be a fun, fan-friendly matchup. And like we know in boxing, there are never any locks. There's never any sure bets. We could always predict the fight and then it come true, and then afterwards we could feel like we're the man and think that we know. But then again, every now and then you have upsets. Just look at, like I said, people were saying that a lot of people afterwards said that they picked the machine, the engine to beat Taylor, but I didn't see a lot of it. A lot of the people I saw definitely were picking Josh to beat Esteban, but we know things they don't always go the way. There's a lot of money with the odds, at least in my book, wherever you guys are tuning in. If you guys bet on these fights, I'm looking at the odds right now. Inoue Hernandez versus Kyron Davis. Kyron Davis is about a 3-1 dog. There's method of victory bets. Stay tuned to the channel. The end of the week, I'm going to do a parlay. It'll be a long shot, but I'm going to do just the method of victories like always. Whether it's, Plant, Charlo. I like that Inoue Hernandez versus Kyron Davis fight. We'll see if they give us odds on letting us get Carmel Moten. He's fighting, he's a 20 to 1 dog right now. I'm not getting a method of victory. Even the Gallegos co-fight, Gallegos being Gallegos, he's being the underdog, so there's money there. Bektemir and DFG right now the odds are 50-50, and that's interesting. I know a lot of people are big on Fulgham. He does a lot of good things well. What's up, David? What do you think of Osley Iglesias? Sadho's a good fighter and didn't want to fight him. Iglesias is a dog, man. There's so many good guys out there. I started learning about him maybe a year ago. He's a dog. The thing is, man, with matchups and with these big promoters and with the Saudis bringing money to the fight game, everybody's talking about that. Because of that, fighters are no longer going to be protecting their O, which I hope that's the case. We want to see the best fighters fight the best. But, with that being said, with the new money into the sport, also, would a guy who thinks that would a guy risk a resume loss to a guy that they feel not confident to fight, like the one you just talked about, if they don't think they could beat him? You know what I mean? Iglesias, there's certain guys in certain weight classes, not many people are putting their hand up to fight. We always talk about Bakr Murtazaev. There's champions. I wanted to talk about what's going on at 147. So it's a division, that's getting a little bit of pub now because Barrios is fighting Pacquiao. But when you look at the champions at 47 and what the division was just 2 years ago when EJ was there, when Bud was there, and it's interesting how, to come up from 140, it's a 7-pound difference. Like the difference a division can make with guys leaving in terms of like how light a division is, in terms of star power at 47. Hopefully guys come out of the woodwork. Hopefully there's, I want to look at the rankings there. It seems very light. To even think that Barrios has a belt is crazy. He's decent, but when you're thinking about guys dominating divisions and being world champions, who's the top 15 there? Obviously, you got Boots. But, Norman Jr., I don't like how Nunez was trying to fight Pacquiao. Norman Jr. better focus on, Sasaki, because he has a tough fight coming up. And, I'm a big Brian Norman Jr. fan in terms of, like, I've covered him. I always cover when he fights. Polanco's a dark horse. I like what I see from Polanco. I like how mean Polanco fights. I just watched him fight. So he's on the come up. We covered Giasov. Giasov has a lot of hype behind him. Even though he's coming off a victory, I don't know if Giasov is world class yet. I got to see more of him. Gio Santillan's there, Mario Barrios, Stanionis. We know what happened with him in Boots. Karen Chukichin's in the top 10 at 147. So yeah, Norman Jr.'s fighting Sasaki. Sasaki could crack. Giasov. Yeah, what I mean by that with Giasov is his fight style. I know great amateur pedigree, and he's coming off a great victory. It's just that where he is in his career, do you guys think Giasov would fare well against, do you think Giasov would beat Norman Jr.? I think Norman Jr. the thing with Norman Jr. too is he's still so young. He's not a finished product. When you watch him fight, you can see he did tie up some of those defensive holes. Yeah, Polanco, I'm very up on Polanco. It's a guy nobody talks about. Just how Polanco fights, his fight style is boring, but his style is very hard to hit. He would beat Norman Barrios, but lose to, Ennis. Karen would beat Barrios. I think Karen Chukichin would beat Barrios too. Karen's a dog, man. You look at his fight, you look at how he fights as well and his style. He'd give a lot of these guys problems. I wouldn't mind seeing Stanionis versus Chukichin or maybe give Giasov Stanionis to see if Giasov's the real deal. But like Polanco, in my opinion, I think Polanco will be a world champion. I love when I watch that guy, I get really impressed. When I see how he goes about his work. And I think when we're talking about divisions getting superstars or opportunities to become a world champion in division, the problem with Barrios is like what we're talking about, how Barrios goes about his work. You know, people you want to have a style that sells tickets. Norman would be Giasov's head in my opinion. I agree, Fresh BX. Yeah. We're gonna find a lot out about Brian Norman. We already know Brian Norman's tough as nails. Karen's tough, dude. I thought he was really good at first. That fight killed me financially. Yeah, I didn't. We're gonna find a lot out about Brian Norman in terms of his development against Sasaki. Like I said, going into his last fight when he stopped the dude, I think in the second or third, he was fighting a tough guy who had never been stopped. Became the first guy to stop him. When I broke down that film study, the one thing I was talking about was he needed to work a little bit on his defense and not coming in naked. And he did do that. He looked good against his last opponent. Yeah, Giasov, there's something about Giasov's style that, he won. It's just, what's up, John? Guys, wherever you're tuning in, I say thank you for spending time on the channel. Remember to like the videos. A lot of you guys, it's one of those things that, as a content creator, YouTube sends me things to ask you guys, and they always say ask them to like. I love Roland. I was thinking he relies on Show too much, a little too much. Would love to see him in a high guard. Relies on it. Yeah, I just think none of these. I think maybe 147 of all the divisions with champions might be like the one with the most unfinished kind of prospect. Like not a lot of them are finished products. A lot of them are still kind of trying to round out their game. Norman Calusa Sasaki's very, yeah. I think he could, man. I think he could. I'm not giving my prediction. I've never bet against Norman yet, and I'm a fan of Norman. I know Brian Norman Sr. follows the channel. If you go back like a month and a half ago, he was in our comment section. We picked Norman Jr. to win. We were complimenting Norman Jr. He found one commenter who was picking the other guy, and he was going out. He went off on my channel, and I had to message him. I was like, bro, we're cheering for Brian Norman, mate. You touching on Friday nights? Yeah, John, I am. I'm not sold on Fulgham either, man. I'm glad somebody said it. What do you think of Mercado? Mercado's marketable, man. Mercado's marketable. We'll see if he gets what he wants. He's been asking for everything. He's been asking for the smoke. I like what I see from him. He's definitely getting the promotionals. He's definitely getting the showman side down, and not a lot of people are calling him out. The DFG question. A lot of you guys are picking, or not picking. A lot of the YouTube commenters. I put a poll up with the DFG fight. I'm covering it. I'll either put that out tonight or tomorrow. But I think Bektimir's just, I don't know, man. Bektimir, it's a tough fight for him. At 47, too many people mentioned Tiger Johnson has improved. Tiger Johnson from Cleveland, Ohio. He still has a long way to go. Tiger's still, prospect kind of. He looked good in his last fight. He's filling out his body. All you want to see from prospects, guys, and you guys know this, is every outing you want to see them add something to their tool belt. You don't want to see them regress. You want to see them progress. And Tiger Johnson's progressing. Is he progressing as fast as some people thought he would be? I mean, how do you answer that? He keeps winning, and he did it in nice fashion. Big frame. Who knows what weight class he's going to end up fighting in as he fills that frame out. But he's a smart fighter, and he's skilled. And he has a lot of people, he has a lot of support. But back to Bektimir. People always talk about, he did lose, he had that one stoppage loss a few years ago, and then he redeemed his loss. Hey, bro, why do you think Gallagher's 265 is a better Cone's last fight? Kane, great question. I think, and I've been thinking about that with the Co fight versus Galagos. I think the money is coming back. I think a lot of the money must be coming from, all you have to, maybe Americans who don't think that Co is that. Co's skilled, though. Like, I think fighters have bad performances. I think the money is on him because people feel that he's going to step his game up. Maybe he took Galagos lightly the first time. He did run out of gas. A lot of people are probably banking on him fixing those conditioning issues. I don't know him personally. Maybe it was a lifestyle issue. Maybe he was partying. But skill-wise, when you see what he has in the tool belt, I could see why they think that he's going to win the rematch. We'll see. Coda and Trent, yeah, Chris, and I didn't know that, but that's what I'm talking about, is the underdog. And these are the points why we're thinking that Galagos is the underdog. Think about the rematch with Liam Ben Whitaker and Liam Cameron. You know, the first fight looked way different than the second fight. It could be an issue that a lot of people in the know. Ko has great skills. Yeah, Ko does have great skills. Ko could box. No sparring, was high off his last two performances. Chris B. And these are things that people, a lot of the bettors are boxing heads like myself and you guys who know these things. Maybe it's also when you look at that first fight, Galagos, what you saw from him, and people think about the ceiling of progress, finished product versus a guy who didn't fight to his full potential. How much better could the guy who won get versus in a rematch, the lessons this guy took from the rematch, and where's that ceiling at? So I think it's more like that. I think it's the semantics of the skill set of each fighter. I wouldn't be confident on picking either or until I really sit down with. One part of my film study is watching their fights, but I also do some Instagram stalking. I like if fighters are active on Instagram, I kind of use that in my study, see what they're doing. Are they putting up training? How active are they on social media? I think that plays in. Tateron also fought good in rematch. Yeah, we picked that. I won money on Tateron. Yep, 100%. John Magana. Yeah, that was a Shigoka. Did anybody get any word on his opponent? I know that was the one he got stretchered out, right? That was just this past weekend. Yeah, there's a lot to be impressed with. There's a lot of good fighters out here. I think this is one of the better weeks this year in boxing. As a fan, so many fights. I'm very interested. Yeah, it starts tomorrow. And like I said, the more I do research on the Japanese smaller weight classes, the more you see the world rankings. Japanese, like 118, all anybody ever talks about is Nakatani, but Takei's there. Same weight class. One fight that's coming up, De Los Santos, Keyshawn. Yeah, it's coming up, next week or the week after? And De Los Santos has been talking the right game. And De Los Santos could fight. I don't think we've seen him since Shakur. Is that right? I'd have to look at his box rec. At this stage of the game with my channel, guys, I really don't look a week ahead because we got so many fights every week. I know that fight's coming up, but I'd have to relook at Edwin De Los Santos' resume. I don't think has he fought since Shakur? Maybe he had surgery. I think I might have read something like that. But Keyshawn's one of these guys we talked about earlier. When you see, a fighter each time they fight, are they getting better? And Keyshawn Davis is one of those guys now. He has that brush. He has that championship shine. Every time you see him, he adds that something to his arsenal. Is Tongdee any good or just normal Thai boxer? So Mike Ross, Tongdee has skills. Tongdee has a victory over Robesi Ramirez in the amateurs. I don't know how much, relevance you want to put on that. Keyshawn's I think I think De Los Santos is tailor-made for Keyshawn to stop him. So Tongdee, Thai, good amateur guy, doesn't have, one-punch knockout power. He's skilled. Is he world-class? I don't think he's on the same level. But, then again, he goes into Cuba as an amateur and beats Robesi Ramirez. That tells you that he knows how to win rounds. He knows how to score points. He has a high fight IQ. So that's something to lean on. Getting a little touch off of boxing. He has that dog, De Los Santos is a live dog because I think Keyshawn's going to exchange with him. Yeah, fights. Right? Chris, it's a great point. I think Keyshawn's going to exchange with him too. Mike, no problem. Like this video, guys. Stay tuned to the channel. I do lives every day if you're new here. Also, I put out a video every day, an edited breakdown and analysis. Jovan Gerbovic. That's my Serbian defense system. So yeah, like the video. Let me know where your money's at this week. Are you guys getting any bet options on other fights this Wednesday in Japan, or just the two? Because all my book has given me is the Takei fight and the Rikishi fight. And I already told you guys I'm going heavy. Right now it pays 174. I put that bet in 2 days ago. Just two money lines. I'm taking Sugar Nunez and Takei money line, 174. Go heavy on it. And then I'm going to take, when we hit, I'm taking that, and I'm going to roll that into Friday's fights. Diaz tailor-made. I don't know. He's throwing smoke as Ryle. I didn't pick Ryle. I picked Gary. I not only picked Gary Antoine Russell to beat Ryle, I picked him to stop Ryle. Mike Ross, I appreciate you. Yeah, and Ryle had all the momentum. Ryle was the one coming off all that shine, and Gary was coming off that loss against Puello, and it was just a bad style matchup. And I think Ryle, for how much heart he has, I don't want to say he was rushed. There's a lot of things that he needs to define in his game. Some guys are coming off tough losses. I missed that comment. You guys are shooting him out here. Yeah, and like I said, this isn't a boxing channel where I talk trash about fighters who lose. I think Hooney could, Yes, Damagi Kamei. People don't know about Justice Hooney. Justice Hooney could make. What are those odds? Hooney could box, man. Hooney is a tough guy. Justice Hooney, an Aussie. He's in. People like the boxing heads I know in Australia. When they mention Jai Apataya, they mention Justice Hooney. You know, in the same breath. And so when he took that fight short notice, I don't see Matias beating Puello. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see. We talked about it yesterday on the show. There's people, even though Hooney's the underdog against Wardley, when he got that opportunity because he feels he's been overlooked, that's why he put his hand up so quick. Yeah, Fabio is favored. But, I mean, I'm going to wait till we get inch closer to that fight. It's coming up. And I'm going to do a little bit more homework. But Justice Hooney can box. And he's a dog. And he's tough as nails. So, yeah, and he's in a good camp. I wonder what are the odds on that right now, guys? If you have them for me, I'd like to know. Like I said, maybe it's because I'm down here in Australia. They handcuff us a bit with the boxing odds. Yeah, Wardley's a beast. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be a wash. I wonder what Vegas has at. I wouldn't even put it at. I mean, odds because it's late noted. You know, short replacement. Maybe 4-1. If it's 4-1, maybe 3-1. If it's 3-1, just for odds, I'd put a little juice on Hooney. Is a good up and comer. One thing is Hooney was hurt bad against Lorena. Yeah, hey man, first time watching it live. What do you think about Manny Pacquiao fight? He is my goat. Nathan Barrow, what's up? Pacquiao's a legend, man. What do I think about him fighting again at 46? All I'm going to say about that, Nathan, is I hope he's not fighting again because he needs money. That's it. You know, it's not up to me to break down should he be fighting Barrios. So that's probably why they got Worley. Yeah, 2.5 on Hooney, 1/3 on Worley. That's my book here. Okay. See, that's right. And you know, how have you guys seen any media on Hooney? How up is he for this fight? Or my bad, Wardley. Like, you know, is he up for this fight? Does he know he's going to be in there with a dog? Sometimes you have letdowns from guys with, you know, replacement fights. So that's something to think about. Like I said, that's coming up. I haven't done my homework on it fully. I'm not even saying I'm taking Justice because it'd be hard to bet against Fabio. But it's a good chat to keep having. That's my iffy fight to be bet. Yeah, I got to be honest with you guys. I really don't like betting on the heavyweights. If you remember 2 weeks ago, we hit a big parlay, and I covered the Johnny Fisher versus David Allen fight. I covered it, and I picked Johnny Fisher to win even though he lost, but I didn't bet on it. So that's something to think. With the heavies, anything can happen with the heavies. Me personally, I don't have a lot of good luck winning money in the heavyweight division. I like Wardley's style better though, and I hope he wins. Yeah, he had, man. It could be one of those fights though where Justice could kind of like, you know, jump him in the pecking order. What are your parlays for Wednesdays, Carlos? Right now, I'm going heavy. 2 money lines and two method of victories. The money lines are the ones that I'm telling you. I'm offering to you guys from my opinion on tape is obviously I'm taking Sugar Nunez. I think Sugar Nunez is gonna shine against Rikishi. I think that style is gonna make him look even better than he's already looked. And I'm taking Takei. But method of victories, I think Usyk is gonna be Dubois heavyweight. These guys come out in shape. And my method of victories, I'm also on a separate bet taking 2 stoppages. So you know I'm taking Takei, and because if you look at the odds, it's crazy. The Takei stoppage and the Sugar Nunez stoppage together is paying a nice little piece, but that's going to be separate. That'll be a fun bet. You know, maybe a couple bucks on the stoppages, but I'm putting a lot more money. I'll go heavy on the 2-fight parlay with hopes of hitting that and then carrying that over into Friday fights. Rikishi has been stopped before. David Easter, yep. Appreciate the DJ Haas, I appreciate you supporting the channel. Guys, every time you guys like this video, comment, support the channel by, you know, tipping. That helps me out in ways that you guys don't even know. You know, I treat this like a job. I put a lot of energy and effort, so I appreciate you. I wish Dubois got that Parker fight. He had real momentum. I know. What's what about Parker though? You know what I'm saying? You wish Dubois got that Parker fight. There's a lot of guys. Will Parker become like? What's up with Parker? We'll see. He looked great, you know, even though that was a short notice fight. Him stopping Bacoli, and Bacoli really. Talk about somebody who lost their momentum. Talk about Bacoli. That happened quite a while back, I believe. Yeah, if you're talking about when Rikishi got stopped, it did. But the heavyweight division is one of these divisions. Bacoli was like the guy that everybody was hyping up, and then he puts his hand up, gets the bag in Riyadh, gets stopped early against Parker, and then fights again and loses. And, you know, I think he's changing camp. He's either changing camps or he is hiring a nutritionist, something along the lines. Top 4, Parker, Ajit, Usyk, Dubois. One guy, Ajit Kebio. That guy could box and he got a chin on him. Heavyweights are slobs. You can't come being in shape. I think Kambosos will beat Hitchens. Hot take, Chris B. Hitchens has so many holes. Yeah, man, but Coley stopped Anderson so long. Very unfortunate. Anybody agreeing with Chris B? He thinks that George is going to beat Hitchens. Interesting take. People loved him when he stopped. They did love him when he stopped Jared. Yeah. Dude, Richardson, Hitchens, George Kambosos. Chris B thinks that George could stop Hitchens. Now, George, you know, George, it's at 140. Hitchens has all the height. George is a dog, though. He puts his hand up to fight everybody. Tough as nails. I think it'll be more competitive than people think. I think the Hitchens fans, people who are taking Hitchens, I think it's going to be more competitive than people think. I don't give George much of a chance. Nope, not all. I'm pretty high on Hitchens. See? Hot takes are great for the chat, right? Yeah. I'm how do I say this? I'm a fan of George. I'm a fan of his father. I'm a fan of his career. I'm a fan of how they've gone about their work, how they've gone about their business. And from an entrepreneurial perspective, how George was able to double down on one victory against Teo and what he was able to do and leverage into a career. Sold out Marvel Stadium in Melbourne against Devon. Sold out the Kudos Bank Arena in Sydney against Devon. Sold out the PAC Arena in Perth against Lomachenko. And now he's fighting in New York City against Hitchens for another world title. So when I look at a guy's legacy, I don't look at a win-loss record. I look at how, you know, the business side of things. Well, obviously you have to look at the win-loss record, but I don't judge a guy just on that. For what George has been able to do with what some say with so little, dude, what a great story, in my opinion. Yeah, I think if George got a chance. King Ty. That's why I repeated that twice when Chris B said he thinks George beats Hitchens. Yeah. Fresh, did you pick Hitchens to beat Pero? I didn't. After I saw Pero in Puerto Rico the first time when he beat Matias, I thought Pero was going to keep the belt for a while. I take it an Australian guy's predicting George. I don't know if Chris B's Aussie. I don't know. Chris, are you from Australia? Hitchens' decision is only 280 in the U.S. What is Hitchens by stoppage then? So is all the money on Hitchens by stoppage? Because like I said, my book, I can't even see those odds yet. I think Australia keeps it week to week. I'd love to see some future odds. Me too, Fresh Beaks. I remember Espinoza fought that night too. Rafa, one of my favorite fighters. It's weird how people call Rafa a weight bully. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't like that term. I don't think Rafa's a weight bully. Will be similar fight to Pero. I got Hitchens 1-6, but I hope Kambosos proves me wrong. Wow, you think Hitchens could stop him that early? Well, George's style, he is a bit of a, you know, he's going to be super active. He's going to be in Hitchens' face. There has to be something in that style that he thinks he could make Hitchens pay. You know how, to be honest, Hitchens is better than Haney. I think Hitchens has a little bit of, I think Hitchens' upside is, but he doesn't throw a lot sometimes either, though. Hitchens could get a little bit dull sometimes with his offense, too. Coming, guys, 10 rounds to 2. Hitchens, yeah, like if you look at his overall volume throughout, you know, his short career so far, he kind of could get a bit pedestrian with his volume. I see 250 Hitchens stoppage, 250 decision. Okay, so it's half and half. What's George money line? Hitchens can only be fundamentally boxed. Kambosos is going to try to fight. Yeah, Kambosos is going to try to close the phone booth. How do you like people picking Devin on your can't make decisions with heart? Yeah, I always say it. Bet with your money, not with your heart. It's the best advice my dad ever gave me. You know, you got to bet. And true boxing heads will always bet with their wallet, not with their heart. It's one of the easiest red flag to see if we're dealing with casuals, fans, or like boxing heads, how they're leaning towards a prediction. Now, it's kind of like, I'm from the U.S. Okay, Chris. So, Chris, how do you see George beating Hitchens? Do you see him outpointing him and winning a decision? Or do you see, you know, that style of his bothering Hitchens and him stopping Hitchens? Campbell moneyline plus 700. I mean, throw a couple bucks on that. If you're a George fan, why not throw a couple bucks on that? I see Raleigh beaten. Kambosos' low mid-volume puncher compared to Lemos. Yeah, Hitchens looked great against Lemos, guys. That I was impressed. I did film study on that one. I thought Lemos would give Hitchens a bit more a bit more problems. Take out a loan every dollar you can on Hitchens. Live dog Nathan from the Haney fights because we know that's Hitchens coming to do that style. Hitchens isn't training for a slugfest. Easy money, I'm telling you. All right, I had no idea there was. I thought everybody was betting against George. I didn't know. It's interesting to see that people were kind of leaning. Some people are picking George to use that experience to beat Hitchens. So we'll see what happens. Anybody here thinking Rikishi beats Sugar Nunez? And is anybody here not sold on Nunez? Because, my bet's already locked in. It's just that a lot of people, one of the victories that I thought was a good victory for Sugar Nunez, some of you guys were in the comments saying he wasn't. Wait, Johnny, you think Hitchens looked great against Lemos? I thought Lemos won. Hold on. Give me a second. I cover a lot of boxing. Before go, let me answer you real quick. You thought Lemos won. What fight am I talking about then? Richardson, Hitchens. Liam Perro, Lemos, unanimous decision. Jose Zepeda. Yeah, my bad. I misspoke. It wasn't the fight I was thinking of. Yeah, see, Hitchens, he wins a lot of decisions. Probably Perro, yeah. No, you're right. It was Keyshawn. You're right. It was Keyshawn again. Didn't Keyshawn fight Lemos? I covered too many fights, guys. You're right. It was Keyshawn against Lemos when they fought in Norfolk, Virginia. That's what I was thinking of. I'm not saying I'm betting on him to win, but the thing is, Rakhmonov win isn't that good. Yeah, David, and that's the comment I was highlighting. So if the Rakhmonov, but what's Rikishi's best win then? Like if you're gonna use that, if you're gonna use that theory that the Rakhmonov win isn't that good, what's Rikishi's best win if you're gonna lean towards Rikishi to beat Nunez? Hitchens will drop output. Yeah, GOAT. Way to hold me accountable. That's why I like this channel. That's why I like the subs, the people who subscribe to my stuff. Don't ever let me get away with some wild misspeak like that. You were 100% right. I was talking about Key. I picked Hitchens by stoppage before and won. I'm telling you, you don't be surprised if George gets stopped. So when's the last time we saw Hitchens get a stoppage? So Hitchens' last stoppage was in 2022 against Alamo. Yomar Alamo's a decent fighter, man. Yomar Alamo, okay, he stopped Alamo in, so it's going on 3 years. Rikishi's skilled guy. Yeah, don't surprise me at all. Perro. Did he stop her? No, he won a split. No, he won a split. Yeah. Richardson hasn't stopped anyone since Alamo. You can't go on the knockout percentage. I've seen fighters with low knockout percentage get recent KOs. Yeah. But Nunez did go to Tajikistan. What are you saying? So you're saying that's in his favor? Nunez is kind of a road warrior. I've been telling people Hitchens by decision is one of the best bets in the sport. I'm going to write that down, GOAT. You definitely know what you're talking about, considering Mario has been hit. What I missed there, Nathan, are you referencing Manny is going to beat Barrios? Of all the world champions, you know, for Manny to come back and fight for a world title 47, I think Barrios gives him the best opportunity to win. I got Nunez in 3 rounds in a while. I'm a wild. Join. I'd win my bet if you're right. Hitchens fights too slow to stop any top guy, but he's great skills. Nunez is a hard fight to call. Said, are you going to bet on that, Said? Magnesi, Chris B. Yeah, Walk, Cedric, are you gonna leave that fight alone? Or, yeah, it's a hard bet to fight on if I'm putting the house on it. Or if you're going to put the house on it, it's a fun fight to bet on because you'll be stressed out the entire time. It just depends on how you guys are wired psychologically. Koki, I know Mario has the power to back off. Does it? I don't think. Yeah, he boxed him with Pacquiao against slower hands. Yeah, I just watched Pacquiao fight the kickboxer in that exhibition. He didn't look that great, but then again, how much did he train? I picked Loma to be the first to stop George at plus money line. Great pick, mate. What'd that pay? I have to work while that fight is going on. I'm staying away from it. Okay. Yeah, like I said, it's the more I get into the game, I'm going to probably be smarter, you know, in terms of, I think the more experienced bettors kind of will have an eye and see which fights to stay away from. You know, especially if if you're going real heavy on these fights, it's a tough fight to predict. Come on, anybody who could sit here and say for sure one beats the other when we're talking about Rikishi versus Sugar Nunez, it's tough to say. We can only say it looking back once the fight ends. Barrow's only chance is a one-punch knockout. And think about Manny Pacquiao's style, guys, throughout his career. How much damage he takes. How many times he's been hit at 46 years old. I don't like seeing it, man. I'm really pissed I can't watch that fight. Considering Mario gets hit and hurt in all those fights, I'll be attending the July 12th Berlanga. Great fight to see. Cameron Mattia. Wow, it's in Queens. Yeah, they're doing the tennis. It's a cool little venue. I'm staying away from Keyshawn fight, especially if the odds are high. Yeah. And that's what the bettors will say, is there enough juice for the squeeze? I'm in the Bronx, so it's close to me. New York in the house. So, Koki, the podcast I used to do, I probably did it for like 4 years. It was called Ungoogleable. Koki, do you know who Fred the Godson was? Rest in peace. Fred the Godson was one of my favorite wordplay rappers. He never got the love that he should have got when he was alive. He passed away during COVID. Yeah, so I've interviewed Fred, man. Fred was a beast. Bars. Yeah, every time I talk to hip-hop heads, I always bring up Fred, and I can tell if they know about him or not. New York legend, man. Fred the Godson. One of my favorite interviews, man. I did that right during the pandemic, 2020. Manny struggles with punches, relying on huge, but I still think terrible fight. Kind of shocked that Cavill declined. My boy Mambo knows him. Mambo was an old school B-boy. Nice. Fresh BX, bet a knockdown on that fight. I know a lot of you boys are comfortable doing the knockdown over and unders. I think they tried to set up Manny in that 3-round exhibition. Manny didn't. Yeah, he didn't look like he trained. I'm just thinking about like Manny's career, his legacy as a boxing champion. How much damage he would take. He was there to just take shots. And so at 46, man, that changes you. And hopefully he's not fighting for money. That's all I'm saying. Hopefully Manny's not fighting for money. What are they gonna do with Suarez and Navarrete? David, we covered the fight, right? And we were keeping everybody up to date, and then the news stopped. The news stopped about Navarrete and Suarez. Right after the fight, they said they were looking into it. They were talking about that it could be reversed to a no decision or a no contest due to the headbutt, but no one's talking about it. Yeah, they said they were going to change it to a no contest. No one's spoken about it. Does Leo have a chance against Inoue? Ooh, I don't know, man. I don't know. What the thing about with Inoue, though, is the fight would be at 26. Durability, I like both guys. Until anything is signed in paper, I don't like kind of predicting outcomes. He's a grown man. Most of all, he's a fighter, bro. I don't want him to fight, but he will do what he wants to. Yeah, you only live once. Nathan, I feel you. I just don't think that we should watch our legends of the game put themselves in. He should be at the stage of the game soaking in all the adoration from his career at 46, not getting hit in the head. Kind of not as bad as Tyson against Paul, which was awful for prostituting our sport, like prostituting an icon like that. Not as bad, but yeah, I'm not happy about that fight. I like BT. I know Leo's his boy, but Inoue stops him. Yeah, I think Inoue is tough to bet against, guys. And Leo, he's not a fine. Inoue is fine-tuned in everything he does. He might have defensive holes, but that arsenal he presents any opponent, that style, dude, is a nightmare. It's aggressive. It's intimidating. Dude, he's a nightmare. Like I said, I want to see Nakatani versus Inoue at 22 before Inoue goes to 26. And then if that doesn't happen, I'd like to see Bam versus Nakatani at 118. But we'll see if that happens. The Casemiro fans, where you guys been at? The Casemiro fans have come out of nowhere and talk like Casemiro is going to beat Inoue. And he's a good fighter, but come on. Inoue also has a lot of heart. He has that relentless. Yeah, Inoue, when you watch Inoue fight, you kind of get, if you were his opponent, it would give you anxiety. And there's not much, for me to hear boxing pundits to talk negative about Inoue. Now, I'm coming from a fight style perspective. That's the style that boxing, when you talk about the sport of boxing, being as big as it is internationally, it's that style. When fans love fighters, when fans love the sport, it's Inoue's style. And he's fun to watch. What does he do? Stay at 22? Nick Ball, they talked about. I think he beats Nick Ball at 26. But is that the first fight we want to see him at 26? I haven't seen enough anyway. Drop twice inside 2 rounds against 2 different people, and I've seen Casemiro finish opponents rounds. Yeah, but anyways, undefeated. The 2 guys anyway got dropped. Neri stopped him. And then in his last fight, you know, we all just saw, got dropped, but then he stopped him. So it's not about getting dropped. It's about how you come back and how that outcome changes. And you know, his opponent, we just talked about this yesterday. Fulgham versus Ben going to be interesting. It is. I'm leaning on Beck. I think Beck beats Fulgham, man. I don't think anyone could afford to get dropped by Casemiro. Casemiro is a good fighter. But so your theory, your logic on Casemiro beating Inoue, though, is based on Inoue getting dropped in his past performances but winning by knockout. Is that your reasoning why you think Casemiro beats Inoue? Damn, I just missed it, bro. These questions are coming in fast. I'm starting to enjoy Eastern boxing more. Japan, Thai, Mongolia, Philippines. Great fighters. Cardenas, yeah. Cardenas got dropped. And the thing about Cardenas, why I'm a fan of Ramon Cardenas, is because he didn't change his style. He just stayed there. The chat is getting like, you guys are beasts. Guys, wherever you're tuning in, like this video. Keep dropping the look, no one's there. This is my whole goal. It was my whole goal starting my channel a year and a half ago. Boxing heads talking boxing. Not one racial remark. No one calling people out for disagreeing. No one talking about it. You know what I'm saying? These are boxing heads. I appreciate you guys. My brother deserves a super chat. Koki, I appreciate you guys. We're growing too, man. So, you know, this is my passion if you couldn't tell. Like I'm here for the chat. These are my people. When I was at the boxing match last Wednesday in Sydney, the Sam Goodman fight, I went with my boy and we're ringside. And throughout we go from the first fight onwards, right? And we had this, by the third fight, we had this group of guys around us betting on fights, asking me about boxing. And it was just this whole thing. And they're like, what the hell? This dude knows everything. And then afterwards, my boy was like, dude, those guys, the people were loving you. I was like, man, these boxing heads are my people. Like, this is the people I belong to, the boxing heads. I just haven't seen anyone dominate Casemiro. So, okay, you going to the Paro fight? I think his new promotion. Yeah, so for me, I really haven't traveled out of Sydney to go to the boxing. A lot of the big fights, when they come to Sydney, I've gone to Sydney and Melbourne. I've never seen a fight in Queensland. It's only an hour flight, though. I don't think Liam Paro right now, I don't think Liam can get me on a flight, though, to watch him fight. No offense. Great knockout against Brock Jarvis. He's a world champion. Yeah, landmass-wise, Koki, landmass exactly as America. It's just that it's so vast. You know, you leave the eastern part of Australia, about the whole middle part of the country is outback. Nothing there. So when you look at the population in the cities, it's all on the coastline. Nothing in the middle. Boxing Numbers live at the fights are amazing. I know. Love talking to guys that are, yeah, it's mind-blowing. Yeah. So is anybody confident with Sugar Nunez? Anybody confident Rikishi? Because it's either one or the other. Even though my bet's in, it could go either way. The longer I simmer with this, and this is why sometimes I don't like putting my money on a bet too far in advance, because it simmers. And then I start overthinking. I'm like, shit, Rikishi's a dog, dude. I got to say, I have Sebastian Fedor stopping Zoo inside 4. Sebastian throws 300 punches. And look, I'll be cheering for Tim. I'll also be cheering for Seb. I'm a fan of how both young guys go about their work. I think Fendor just keeps getting better. Tim Zoo's ceiling, he's 30. Does Tim have that much room to develop in terms of skill? Now, I think Joel Gonzalez could beat Sleeper Figueroa. Joel Gonzalez is a good boxer. I think Zoo's shortcomings were tactically, obviously against Murtazaev. He fought with an ego. We'll see. I mean, he looked good against Joey Spencer. How much do you put in that performance against Joey Spencer? But with Seb Fendora, tactically, he's already locked in. It's his skill set that keeps getting better. Like, even like how he sets up his punches, and unless you've ever been hit by a taller guy, feeling the velocity of the punches coming down like that, they just have a different kind of snap on them. And that's the advantage he has, just being so tall. So, I don't know, man. I hope for a good fight. I don't know. We'll see what Tim does. I'm not going to pick. I think that's a bad. I'm going to Rikishi. Okay, Boxer probably Rikishi's 80%. I'm not sure where this number comes from. User voting. Wow. People are picking Rikishi. Sebastian is a cheat code for his height and range. Yuttapong has some good power, but zero defense. Yeah, hard fight to bet. The thing about Yuttapong, what I don't like, Rikishi winning is 87%. That's insane. I don't think, though, either one of them could beat Jesus Ramos. Jesus Ramos, we cover him on the channel. Another good. There's so many good fighters out there, guys. And it's tough to kind of like matchmake in the future. Hopefully we get to see. I could see Fendor stopping Zoo. I can. Now, Rikishi's ranked #1 on BoxRec, but I mean, I know BoxRec uses an algorithm, and no one's really been able to explain that in depth to me, what their algorithm is to put Rikishi at #1. But yeah, he's been there for a while. But then you look at the BoxRec rankings, you would think if you become a world champion in a division, you would go to the top. But there's some champions who are ranked 12 in their division. I think Zoo beats him. I can't get behind the Fendor hype. Okay, and I can see both. I can see both. Now, Fendor's skill set, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything that like explosivity, no, speed, no. But it's just this constant barrage. He would be another fighter that you would get stressed out to fight in terms of in the ring. Like when your opponent's standing in front of you, there's a stress about it, and his style, just how big he is and what he's doing. You know what he wants to do. He's landing all the time. Also, a fighter with that big of a height distance advantage, their opponent is used to the space and timing of the weight class. When you fight Fendor, when you think you're safe, you're not really safe, and when you think you can land, you really can't. It's that range, man, and he does that really well. Fendor uses his physical attributes really well, and I think he's just getting better with all of that. Yeah, like a shield. And he has a fun style, man. How confident are you in Takei TKO? Love it, blessings. I love the Takei stoppage. On a separate ticket, I'm taking Takei parlay. Like I already told you guys, on a separate one, I'm taking Takei to win by stoppage. I'm not putting that on the same parlay as Sugar Nunez, though. It's going to be on a separate one. But yeah, I think Seb is getting better. Whatever they're doing in their camp, maybe it's time to talk about the mother who was a boxer and the father. We know it's a family affair. We know about Gabby. Just watch Gabby even against Badillo, even though Badillo, she was undefeated, didn't really have a good resume. But every time I see Gabby fight, she adds things to her arsenal. She looks for the knockout. You don't see many women in those divisions stopping people. And she's fun, and it's almost like a mirror image of her brother. Fendor is not a fighter you fight on late notice. Yeah, you have to train for him. That's a great point. Fendor is beatable, always going to be tough. It's point-based. Yeah, it's point-based. And when you look at, when we talk about, somebody was here talking up Casemiro, and we know Casemiro's not undefeated, and he was saying that Casemiro would do well against Inoue, but then you can't always go on that logic because I missed that question, guys. Sorry about that. I'm just pulling up Seb Fendor real quick. Yeah, the draw against Clark early, and Mendoza stopped him. And that was 2 years. It was only 2 years ago. So that Mendoza stoppage, would you do a parlay with Takei? Yeah, that's what. Yeah, blessing. So on one ticket, I'm doing Takei and Nunez by stoppage. That's it. It pays pretty good. The other ticket, I have a long parlay with Takei and Nunez winning by money line. Yeah, that's what I mean. Sebastian is improving, and a lot of things that don't get spoken about in the sport, guys, by the analysts or the people who cover the sport mainstream, is that sometimes losing a fight isn't the end of the world in terms of making adjustments. Think about it. Tim Tszyu, I think if the way Tszyu looked against Murtazaev the first time, when he got stopped, I don't think he would have been that low IQ in his tactics if he would have had another stoppage loss. Sort of, you know what I mean? I 100%, if he ever fought Murtazaev again, his game plan will be different. So sometimes you don't know unless you know or until you know what you need to work on. His punch output is too good for Tszyu. Tszyu's, yeah, but Tszyu, Tszyu has his holes. He's not his dad, not a finished product, not a well polished product, but he is fun to watch. Tim at least is going to fight you, and as boxing fans, it's hard to cheer against him. He's going to fight you. So 2 separate tickets. Yeah, Matt. Yeah, that's what I'm rolling with. And Mar the Prince. That's what I'm going. Would you do a separate ticket on each one to win via knockout? Sugar and Takei, I think in advance. Yeah. I mean, it depends on how heavy you're going, guys. If you want to win 100 on 300, 3-1, some of the stoppages, Atama versus Sarenko, you guys are firing them right now. I want the winner of Tszyu versus Sebastian versus Virgil. Man, I'd love it. Man, Virgil has so many options. What does Virgil do? One of my favorite fighters has so many options. Every time Virgil's name is mentioned, it's a perfect. Do you have Nunez winning? Yeah, I'm taking Sugar Nunez to win. I'd favor Ramos over. You take Ramos over Fendor and Zoo. That's crazy. I don't know about that. Ramos didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would take him over both guys. You know what I'm saying? People on Zoo does have power. Zoo could crack, and what Zoo does really well, you don't really see a lot. People think that he fights flat-footed, but up until he lost against Murtazaev, he's always been good with his front foot with range. His timing's really good on setting his backhand up, and his body shots are really good. 79. So you have Ramos over both two. And I'm up on Ramos. I've covered him on the channel. Every time Ramos fights, I cover him. I pick him to win. He's tough. He's still young too, though, right? How old's Jesus Ramos? He's younger than people think. Yeah, he's only 24. Jesus Ramos has a lot of time. Has a lot of time to develop. And yeah, we covered the Guido Schramm fight. We picked him to win by stoppage. He lost to Erickson Lubin. That's what I mean. I don't know if Erickson Lubin's another guy. He just beat Ardrill Holmes. Lubin, he's an X factor, I think. Even though he has a couple losses, I like Erickson Lubin. He's only 29. Lubin's only 20. Lubin seems like he should be 40. He's only 29. Not Ramos is 24, GOAT. So like that's what I feel when you're saying that. I don't know if Ramos is developed enough yet to beat Seb. I don't see how he beats him right now. Predictable and sluggish. Yeah, Ramos predictable. Ramos's offense is predictable. We still want to see Spence versus Canelo at 68 if Canelo beats Crawford. Are we talking about Errol Spence or Joey Spencer? Are we talking about Joey Spencer or EJ? Who are we talking about? Do you think Takei gets a stoppage late? I can see it. Khalil Ko, barrel strength. Ko versus Gallegos. Isn't that Errol Spence? I don't want to see EJ fight again. I'm a huge EJ fan. I think he's done. I think EJ's done. I don't think we see him fight again. Yeah, Ko's the favorite, even though he got stopped against Gallegos. We were talking about that fight earlier. Frank Sanchez versus Hrgovic. Another fun fight. The heavyweights. Gallegos. Yeah. You think... Gallegos plus money right now versus Ko. Like, we talked about it earlier in the feed. I think where that money's coming in is people think that Ko didn't train well enough, and they're thinking that his skill set is going to be enough to win the rematch. We'll see. Kyron Davis. I'm high on Yano Hernandez. Mar the Prince. I'm high. Yano Hernandez, he beats Kyron Davis, and he should beat him. He's a better boxer. I'm not saying that's a winnable fight for Fendor. I would probably pick Ramos to beat him. Okay. I don't know, man. I don't see Ramos' path to victory getting past that jab. He gets hit a lot. Hernandez is going to stop Zave. I can see that. But, look, I'm a fan of Jesus Ramos. So I'm just, at 24 years old, with his fight style, he has some developing to do on kind of both sides of the plate. Offensively, I'd like... Did you guys watch the perfect example, the Charles Conwell fight, when Conwell lost to Chinito? Conwell had all that hype, and looking back, one of the guys who bet for Conwell to lose, who he was right, Conwell doesn't set up his entries. He was my buddy was like, if you guys follow Ohio Runs Boxing on Instagram, he was on my channel and we were breaking down the Chinito versus Conwell fight, and he said that Conwell's downfall is he doesn't set up his entries. When he gets a guy who is more experienced with a high fight IQ, he's going to make him pay. It's exactly what Chinito did, and I see that in Ramos. Ramos doesn't set up a lot of his entries, and when he does, it's predictable. I don't think you could do that against a guy with the physical stature like and the volume of Seb Fendora. I think right now he has to work on that. I think that's a bad matchup right now, Jesus Ramos versus Seb Fendora. But he's getting there. He's fun to watch. 83% career knockout to win ratio. His style is really fun. His fan base keeps growing. He's hard to cheer against. I just think it's a bad matchup right now. It's worse than Virgil by far and gets slept by Murtazaev. Now, Murtazaev versus Virgil, or Murtazaev versus Seb, that's a different story. I was high on Conwell too, man. I picked Charles to win that fight. I picked him. We saw it. When Conwell looks good, he looks great. When he was fighting Chinito, how he kept putting his head on Chinito's left side and would only fight him in the clinch there, and he wouldn't make the adjustment to move to the other side, and he kept getting hit with that uppercut. Those were slight adjustments that you would think a fighter at the world-class level would be able to make in the moment. But Conwell was frozen. It was almost like he had one game plan, he didn't have a plan B or C, and he couldn't make the adjustment, and that just shows you the ring IQ. And I slept on Chinito, man, and hats off to him. And he has a big fight coming up, and he deserves to have a big fight. I did not know he was that durable either. I thought Conwell was going to be able to break him down to the body and get him out of there. But that guy impressed me. Of all the fights in the last month or so, fighters that have impressed me, coming off a victory, I mean, Cardenas impressed us, but he got knocked out. But Chinito Garcia, the dude who beat Conwell, impressed me. No one's talking about him. We'll see if he can carry that momentum on. I know that he has a big fight coming up. What's Conwell going to do? Bad news. Yeah. Okay, I thought it was official. I don't see it official yet. Fendor dominates people, whereas Virgil had a close fight with Israel. Well, Virgil versus Boachuk, too. And this is why we always say styles make fights. Virgil versus Boachuk. And then you looked at what Serhi looked like against Michael Fox, not the same guy, because Virgil's there to get hit. And that's the type of style that makes Boachuk look good, too. But Virgil's another one of these guys that, how do you cheer against him? He's so fun to watch. The dude's style is fucking ridiculous. Gets hit a lot and gets dropped, gets right back up, gets stunned, gets right back up. He's a nightmare to prepare for. He's one of my favorite fighters to watch. That's a good matchup. Zayas for shit. That's it. Will, I think that's the fight people were talking about. Xander versus Chino Garcia. That's a great fight. It's not official. I don't see it on paper yet. I think Madrimov is a great fighter. I'm high on Israel Madrimov, man. He does a lot of these. He's not. If you look at fighters shadow boxing and you just saw like a dark black silhouette of them in the ring, you would know that was Israel Madrimov. He has one of those herky jerky styles. David Ice, I missed that comment. Guys, be sure to like this video. Stay tuned to the channel. We got a lot of fights to cover this week. Tomorrow we got the Japan card. If I'm allowed, I'm probably going to do a live stream during the fight. We can chat about it wherever you're tuning in. And like always, subscribe, comment. I appreciate you guys supporting. Everybody who tipped me, man, that means more than you guys will ever know. And stay tuned to the channel. If you don't catch this live stream live, I always put all of our live streams up. Or if you want to revisit something we covered, they're up in the playlist called Predictions. You could see them. Until then, I'll speak to you guys soon.